in the era of King Arthur. A pair of queens. Alexis drew the winter away, artist that she was. Many of her sketches now littered Ghislaine's room. Here, there, and everywhere they lay like museum artifacts that had suffered through a storm. A grand announcement was made by Ghislaine this day in the inn.
Though I feel yet young, the people of my kingdom see me growing older every day that there is no apparent heir. So I have asked Alexis to be my queen and she has accepted. We sail south on the morrow to the Mystical Isles in Taliesin's boat to meet the spring. I shall return on my northward journey not long after the equinox, while Alexis stays behind and learns to rule the Isles. Then, during the Scandian summer, when the Northland is secure, she will vacation in the North Country, carrying the next king in her belly.
Many swords were raised for the royal couple in a marriage salute. Perceval, the best man, gave away the bride to his best friend with but a little regret.
Hail to you, King Ghislaine, and to you, dear Alexis. One day we shall meet again. Godspeed, my friends.
February passed quickly halfway by. Perceval, rushing the spring, had taken off down the road and was nowhere to be found. Taliesin, meanwhile, awoke from his hibernation and cried to Guinevere,
Where is Perceval? I have great news for him, though he may not think the news is so great, for it may put his wanderings to an end for some time.
Guinevere, determined and resourceful as ever, set out to find Perceval.
I'll resurrect him. I think I'm getting good at it. He has probably fallen in love with the first red-breasted robin of the season.
She rode some miles down the watery road and found him in a quaint little diner, eating potato skins dipped in melted cheese and bacon bits, and washing them down with glasses of white wine.
Perceval, my dear, our new magician Taliesin, has glad tidings for you back at the inn.
Perceval, after some time, replied,
Drink with me again as we used to. The news can wait for the afternoon.
After some amount of lingering, they returned to the inn. Taliesin awaited the duo, and all could see that he was ready to spin a tale. He began as they all caught their common breath.
Perceval, the time has come for me to unravel the riddle of your birth. Britain is ready, you are ready. Your mother never told you this because she wished to keep you in the forest forever, and Arthur kept it a secret, although he meant to tell you as he died, but death came and took him away too soon. When Arthur was still young, his brother Perceval, no, this was not you, was killed in a joust by the mysterious Red Knight. This Red Knight continued to be a source of irritation to Arthur. For example, he would appear from nowhere in the middle of Arthur's banquets and ride off with Arthur's favorite goblet. No knight could catch him. Meanwhile, you were born, a posthumous child, the son of Perceval. Your mother wished to shelter you from the violence of the world and thus retreated with you into the forest. She allowed you no weapons but a small spear for your own protection. However, you used it as a model and made your famous darts. Darts which still sting your enemies today. One day you spotted 3 knights riding, one of them Gawain, and thinking they were gods, you fell in love with their ways, and so you eventually became one of them. Perceval, now I must tell you, you are king of Britain. I shall spread the word far and wide. I cannot believe this. It cannot possibly be true. I also know that you now carry the king's crown bequeathed to you by Arthur at Salisbury Plain. Perceval, my king, you have so far proved to be a walking collection of the kingdom's treasures. You have found the Grail, shown up with the swinging sword, and have thrown Excalibur into the sea. I was only given the crown for safekeeping as I was the only remaining knight. Yes, that is all true, including the king's crown, but it means nothing. You cannot fail the throne of the Britons. You cannot fail him now. You are the son of Arthur's brother. You, Perceval, are the good son that Arthur never had. The secret was on his lips as he died. This is also why you stood at Arthur's side to the last on Salisbury Plain and during many previous battles, for Arthur himself became your protector during those last years when Lancelot retreated to monkhood. For your protection you were then insquired to Lancelot, the king's greatest knight. At the time Arthur's kingdom was in turmoil and he trusted no one, and therefore he kept the news to himself. He related this to Arthur, who saw the resemblance at once and said, "Perceval, of course even the name is the same as that of my brother." But later, while still in your youth, when you slew the Red Knight, the reality of your promise returned to Merlin from the cobwebs of his mind. At first, when you emerged from the forest after many years, Arthur had no inkling of your identity or your relation to him. No, you are the great king's nephew.
I know that my first action as king is to ask Guinevere to be my queen. I understand many things now. Yes, I realize now that it must be true.
That I shall be.
A parade of white nuns carrying a bleeding lance then entered the great hall through the unopened door and walked once around the tables in the glow of heaven's light. Drops of blood oozed from the lance point and fell to the floor. The white nuns then departed, leaving the lance to King Percival. By the king's order, the remainder of the night was spent gathering up the blood from the floor and saving it. Although the lance soon disappeared into the air, a note was left by the Lady of the Lake saying that it was the Crimson Spear, and that it would be returned to Percival when it was needed most. Then the new king and queen began to shine in the Venus light of morn. We shall now begin to follow that rising morning star through the oncoming dawn and into the daylight, as it is now shining very brightly in the night and casting their shadows on the snow.